we announce the calls mostly through our big email announcements. So those go out to our entire distribution list. Everyone who registered for the integration meeting will be automatically added to that list if they weren't already on it. But if you or someone you know wants to make sure that they're on the mailing list, you can sign up on our website. Another great way to learn about the calls is by following us on social media. We're active on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And by following us there, you can get the call announcements and also learn about what's going on at our facility, get to know our staff and users and the science that they're doing. And of course, you can check in with the EMSL website periodically to see when the calls go live there if you prefer. So once you know about a proposal call, it's time to submit your letter of intent. This is a new requirement for the LSR and exploratory calls as of last year. We've always had a LOI requirement for the FICUS call. And these help us to put together the proposal review panel and make sure that we have the right expertise on the panel to review your science. But they're also, the requirement was really also put in place to help users to make strong proposals. They are reviewed internally for responsiveness to the call focus topics and for technical feasibility. So at this stage, we want to make sure that your project is responding to the focus topics for the call, that it's aligned with the EMSL mission and the BER mission. And we want to make sure that what you are proposing to do is technically feasible for the resources, capabilities we have at EMSL. And most of the LOIs are approved. We're not looking to screen out proposals at this stage, but rather we use this as a way to improve the alignment, the feasibility of the proposals that come in. So when an LOI is approved, the user is invited to submit a full proposal, and they are given feedback from the staff, the scientific and technical staff who reviewed the LOI for alignment and feasibility. We give the user comments, feedback at that stage, and also make sure that they're put in touch with EMSL staff who can assist them as they create their full proposal. So if you are invited to submit a full proposal, then you go on to this next stage, submitting the full proposal. These are peer reviewed, of course, by an external panel of subject matter experts, and they are reviewing to these criteria: scientific merit and quality of research, team qualifications, relevance to the mission, appropriateness of resources requested, and the impact on EMSL science areas. So you can read detailed descriptions of the criteria on the website. So you want to look at the call announcement for the specific call that you are responding to. The criteria are call specific, and they may even change year to year. So always make sure you're looking at the call that you are applying to. Read those detailed descriptions, and then keep in mind, reviewers are going to be assigning scores for each criterion according to a detailed rubric. And so make sure that you're writing to the criteria. This is perhaps the first big tip that we'll give in this presentation. Make sure you write to the review criteria. If you're missing one of these areas, it's going to impact your score. So now I want to talk a bit about what goes into the LOI and the full proposal. They have really similar content. There's a project description, which is longer for the full proposal than for the LOI. There's information about the team members, and there's information about the resources that you need and your samples. So you will create your LOI or proposal in the Nexus user portal. You can see the address here, nexus.emsl.pnnl.gov, or you can find links to it from our website. So once I'm done here, Courtney will be taking over to show you a demo of that Nexus user portal, so you're familiar with what it looks like and how to get started. The project description, this is the scientific narrative, what you're proposing to do, the background, the project plan, and there are several required appendices. And that all goes into a PDF, which you'll be uploading to the form in Nexus. So you want to see the call announcement webpage for guidance. And again, note that requirements can change each year and are different for different calls. So that's the PDF portion. And then directly into the proposal form, you'll be entering information about your team members, the PIs, co-PIs, students, etc. Details go directly into the form, things like funding information, affiliation details, ORCID IDs. And this is where it really helps to start the proposal form early. I think people sometimes make the mistake of focusing a lot of effort on the project description because that is the meat of the proposal. But maybe our tip number 2 today is to start creating the LOI or the proposal in Nexus early so that you can click around, explore the form, and be familiar with all the details that you're going to need in order to actually submit your project description and everything else. And so then finally in red, the resource request and the sample details. These go into the project description for the letter of intent, and they go straight into the online form for the full proposal. We're in the process of streamlining some of this stuff still as we transition to the Nexus portal. And so this will change over the years. And the best thing to do here is just see the website and read all the details carefully so that you kind of know what's coming and what to do. So a little bit more information then and some tips on each of these. In the project description section, this is where you need to write to the review criteria, as I discussed earlier. So you want to make sure that you state clear hypotheses, objectives, project plan, and be really clear about your need for EMSL, why this research should happen here and couldn't happen somewhere else. The kind of look and see kind of proposals don't score as well. So that means, make clear what the hypotheses are, what are the objectives, and how are the experiments that you're describing and proposing, how are they going to address those hypotheses or move towards achieve those objectives, rather than just we're going to do something and kind of check it out and see what happens. On the team members piece, when you're writing about your team members, you want to be really clear about the expertise and qualifications that they are bringing. So who is doing what do you need EMSL staff to help with? EMSL staff typically won't be listed as team members unless they happen to be supported by non-EMSL funds for the work. Talk to your EMSL collaborators if you aren't sure. And then on the resource request, see our website for information about the resources and instruments that we have available. There's a section of the website called something like resources and instruments. You can browse there, but you can also use the website search feature. It's a really powerful search tool, and you can actually filter those search results for just information about resources and instruments. So you can read up there about what we have available. You're going to be entering this directly into the proposal form for the full proposal. You want to put in as much information as you know about what you need, the specific tool, any specs, hours needed, etc. But if you're not an expert, that's okay. You can also just describe the data that you're trying to get, and our staff will help you determine what you need. So this is maybe, I think I'm on number 3, perhaps the third hot tip for this tutorial is talk to EMSL staff. This is the best resource available to you when it comes to making a strong proposal. They are available to consult with you as you put your LOI together and your full proposal. So EMSL staff can give you more detail about the equipment and capabilities. What we have on the website is at a fairly high level. You can get into the technical specs with our staff. You can talk about the technical feasibility of what you're proposing. And these are experts who can give you great advice on what can and cannot be done. They can help you identify the right resources. If there are maybe tools we have that you don't know about, our staff are there to talk to you about your project and help you find what you need. And they can also help you estimate and justify the amount of time needed, which you have to enter into the proposal form if you know it, and they can help you come up with realistic numbers. And when to figure out which staff to contact, you can look at that call announcement page. We have contacts listed for the call topics and for the highlighted capabilities. And if you are in doubt, you can always email EMSL User Services, and I'll have the email address up later, but it's emsl@pnnl.gov. You can always reach out to us. We're not technical experts, but we can put you in touch with the right person or help you find the right person to answer your questions. So finally, I think it's interesting and kind of fun to look at the common themes that we find in reviewer comments on unsuccessful proposals. So these are all taken or paraphrased from comments on proposals that scored pretty well, but not high enough to be successful. And we see the same comments over and over again. So the hypotheses and timeline were not clear. The scope was too broad. The users didn't explain how the requested instruments can provide the data needed. The methods needed to measure X were not well described. The proposal lacked details on how the measurements would advance the science. They were missing details about samples, which made it difficult to determine whether they would allow the samples would allow the PIs to address the hypotheses. Users made assumptions without providing preliminary data. They needed to explain scientific terminology that isn't widely known to the broader research community, i.e. jargon. So when you're writing your proposal or when you're editing it, think about the people who are reviewing your proposal and try and see what you're writing from their perspective. Think about these, will any of these comments apply to what you're writing? If so, go back and revise it. Is there something missing? Is it too hasty, unclear? I think trying to think like a reviewer as you edit your proposal is just all around a good approach to proposal writing. And of course, if you're interested in being a reviewer, which is probably a wonderful way to learn more about how to write a strong EMSL user proposal, you can contact our user services office and we can consider you for proposal review boards in the future. So to summarize, the kind of top tips that I think are worth remembering from today: consult with EMSL staff and start early. Don't wait until a couple of days before the deadline when they are inundated with requests. Give them a few weeks to have that conversation with you. Carefully follow the call specific guidance on the website in the user portal. So remembering that guidance can change for the different calls and year to year. Start filling out the form in the user portal early so that you can explore the requirements. And don't be surprised at the 11th hour when you go to submit the proposal. Write to the review criteria. Be clear about objectives, hypotheses, project plan, and the need for EMSL. And finally, when in doubt, get help from EMSL User Services at emsl@pnnl.gov. And so if questions have come up now, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to Courtney and we can have more questions at the end.
All right, I don't see any in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and just steal the screen share from you, Alison.
Great.
Okay. All right, and I'm going to take my video off while I do this, so I'll turn it back on when we're done. All right, so as Alison mentioned, I'm going to walk through kind of a quick demo of submitting an LOI and a full proposal so you guys have a better idea of what you can expect when you get out here. I'm using our test site, so you're going to see that plus some multiple tabs across the top to just help me get through the different pieces a little more quickly during this demo. So the page that you're seeing now is the homepage of the user portal. So once you've created an account and logged in, this is the view you'll see. Obviously, there's a lot of information out here for you as a user, but we're going to just focus on the submission pieces today. Sorry, my dog's moving. So once we have, once you've had a chance to look at the call and are ready to kind of start exploring the form like Alison recommended, you can come out here and start over in the left navigation panel with submit a proposal or LOI. That's going to open up a box asking you what proposal type you're submitting. So anytime we have an open call, you'll find those first in the list. You can open this to see the different calls that are available, as well as the topic areas that you can submit to. So just make sure you're finding the call in the topic area that's most applicable to your research and select it from the list, and then click Start New Letter of Intent. This is just going to have you confirm that you're ready to start, and go ahead and click Yes. And you're going to be taken to the letter of intent form. So across the top, you can see the different pieces of information that you're going to be asked to provide in this electronic form. And I'll walk through several of these. So on this details page, there's some quick information here that you'll be asked to fill out, a research category, which of our integrated research platforms you believe best support your project. If you need to read more details about those, they're available on our website as well. Your title and abstract. And then, as Alison mentioned, that project description is going to be uploaded here. And again, I'll just reiterate, please make sure you're checking the website, that you're looking at the most recent guidance for proposals, and especially for the call you're submitting to. And then making sure at the LOI stage, you're looking for the LOI requirements. Okay, so I'm going to move over to participants. And you'll notice as I move, I didn't fill anything out on the details page, so it's going to tell me I've missed something that's required, and give me more details over here. So as you go through, you're going to get those messages if you've missed something, so you know you have to go back and fix it, but you can keep going and then come back to it later. So I'm just going to dismiss this for demo purposes. This participants page is where you can add everybody who's going to be part of your project, and then set the different roles that they're going to have. Pick your principal investigator. You can pick as many co-investigators as you'd like, but anybody who is set as either the PI or a co-PI must have an ORCID ID and their citizenship on file in their user account. So you can't do that on behalf of anybody else. They will have to log into their own account to do that. And if they can't get that done before the submission deadline for whatever reason, you don't need to take them off. Just go ahead and set them as a team member, and we can help you fix that down the road if you're up against a deadline to get that information in. If you need to set your own information, make sure you save your proposal or LOIs as far as you've gotten, and then you'll come over and just click on My Profile. So I'm going to jump to the second tab that shows that information. So in your profile, you'll be able to link an ORCID ID. This little paragraph here explains kind of what we're doing with it. We want all user records associated with one. You will be asked if you want EMSL to post like your research awards, or down the road any other professional service activities that you might have with us, to your ORCID record automatically. You don't have to allow that, but either way, selecting yes or no to this question is going to redirect you to ORCID's website. So you will log in there, and it will then send you back here where it will populate your ORCID ID from their information and keep the permissions that you chose. If you also need to update your citizenship, just click on this link here saying I need to update my citizenship, and you'll see some fields show up. Just ignore these top few, we don't need them, and just focus on the primary citizenship and any dual citizenship countries you might have at this point. And then you can just save all your changes. If you're relatively new and have created an account within the last few years, this has been a requirement for creating your user account at the beginning of the registration process. So you likely will not need to be doing this, but if you've had an account for years and have never come in and done this, then you will need to make sure that that's in place before you submit your LOI or proposal. I'm going to jump back to the LOI form, and you can see up at the top, this is one I've started a little earlier in the day, but you can see check marks on each page letting you know you have all the required information, and then you're taken to this confirmation page. So the confirmation page is going to summarize everything that you've already gone through up here. And we encourage you to take a last look at it, make sure it looks like what you're expecting, verify that the file you uploaded is the correct file. You can make any adjustments to your team members from here. Anybody who is set as a PI or co-PI will be asked for their funding source. So you can pick multiple if you're using multiple funding sources for this work. I just put one in here as an example. And then some samples and equipment information. At this stage, we're just kind of wanting to get an idea of what samples you're going to be using for your work. Let us know if there's anything in particular that we need to make special note of. And then the last piece of the LOI is the terms and conditions, which you'll read through and confirm and then answer a couple questions. And then when you're ready, go ahead and click submit here. As Alison mentioned, those LOIs are going to be reviewed for technical feasibility and responsiveness to the call internally. And like she said, it's to help us and to help you develop your full proposal better. So once the LOI decisions have been made, you'll get an email letting you know one way or the other. And if you are invited, sorry, let me to move this little guy up here that's in my way so I can get to my next tab. You'll come back out to the user portal, and on your homepage under this announcement section, you'll see that your LOI was invited to start a proposal. You can go ahead and click on that to get started. If you need to look at what you uploaded for your LOI, that's available here. There are some contacts to help you if you need to talk to somebody, but when you are ready, go ahead and click Start Full Proposal. And just give this a second to load. It's going to, as you can see, load a lot of information that was already in your LOI so that you don't have to go through and re-enter that info. But there are some pieces that will not be filled in because they weren't needed at the LOI stage, or in the case of the proposed research document, you will need to upload a file that meets the full proposal guidance. And again, encourage you to make sure you've gone out to the website, you're looking at the guidance for full proposals for the call you're submitting under, and really making sure you have all of the information in your project description, as well as the required appendices when you upload this file here. One new thing that you'll see across the top is resources that Alison touched on. So I'm just going to jump over to that page and dismiss that notification. So as she mentioned, you'll be asked to pick some resources at a high level. So you'll see some groupings, and then you can expand them to see some resources underneath. So I'm just going to grab one of these, but you can pick as many as you need, and you'll be asked to provide some comments on how you plan to use the resource, the usage hours, the investigator expertise that you have on your team for that resource, and then the kind of support that you need from EMSL. So if you click yes, there's some options here for you to pick to give us an idea of the kind of staff support required to help you with this particular resource. If it's a kind of a broader group of resources and you know the specific one that you need, feel free to put that in the comments as well. And like Alison said, we do encourage you to talk to our staff, talk to them early about your research needs, because they can help you refine these resources. They may even help you find some that you didn't even think of for your research, and can help narrow down what you need for that work. I'm going to switch tabs once more to a full proposal that is completely filled out. It's going to look really similar to what you saw in the LOI, with all of your pieces at the top checked off as you finish them. And again, we really encourage you, take a look at this confirmation page, go through it, verify your files uploaded, verify you have all the people on the team that you need. One piece of information for the samples that you'll be asked for at this stage is the number of samples and the estimated sample ship date. Obviously, these are not set in stone, but please try to make them as accurate as possible. That helps us with planning. You can edit anything you need from this page. You do not have to go back to the individual pages to edit. And then once you've confirmed that everything looks good, go ahead and click submit. You will have a pretty limited time after you submit to edit the proposal if there are quick changes that you need to make, but we really do encourage you to look through this confirmation page before you submit the proposal. So after it's submitted, it's going to route again for another internal technical review and some internal safety and health reviews by our subject matter experts, and go out for external peer review as well. So once that entire review process is complete and we go through the process where we are able to see how many proposals we can support as part of this call, you will get a notification email about the decision. That email will direct you back out to the user portal. That's where you can get some additional details about it. You can read your peer reviews, and I'll show you how to find those. So on this next tab, this is the view that you'll see when you click on that proposals and projects tile from your homepage. It's going to take you to a page where you can use filters up here to go between your proposals to find the right ones you're looking for. And you can click to load any of these to read the details. So I've got one loaded here. As I mentioned, this is where your peer reviews are going to be. So you can click to download those comments from the reviewers. If you ever need to reference the file you uploaded, it's going to be available here. For competitive proposals that receive staff support from EMSL, you'll be able to find the in-kind value of that staff support. I do want to reiterate, we're not a funding agency, so this money does not come directly to you. It is just the estimated value of what it is costing EMSL to support this work. So this has been a request from many users so that they can include this information as part of CVs and promotion packages and things like that. So if that information is available for your proposal, it will be out here. And for multi-year projects, you'll see amounts for each year. And then as your proposal moves through its life cycle, you can always come back out here to find points of contact that can help you with the different instruments that you're using, and then information about samples, resources, data, submitting publications that result from this work, and all that stuff can be done out here on the user portal. So that's kind of all I was planning to cover at this point, and I will see if we have any questions. I'll stop sharing, and if we need to come back, we can.
That was great. Thanks, Courtney.
Yeah, thanks. Right.
Well, I think this presentation will also be made available. So if people want to see a part of it again, I think Eric or Beth, maybe it'll be available to people later.
Alison, that is correct. We will be posting it on the EMSL website and EMSL YouTube. It'll just be probably about a week after the meeting before it's made available, but we will let registered attendees know.
Okay.
And I'll reiterate what Alison said too. If you have any questions or problems throughout the submission process, please just contact us, emsl@pnnl.gov, and we are more than happy to help walk you through the form and answer any questions you might have.
I see. I did receive one question in chat asking me to elaborate a bit more on strengthening the impact to mission, EMSL and BER mission. I mean, I'd be interested if other people on the line have suggestions here. I see there's several EMSL staff who have probably helped write and read a lot of these proposals before. I think when you are trying to demonstrate the mission alignment, reading the mission statements of EMSL and BER and looking for, key phrases and actually repeating those in your proposal. We are studying X, which, contributes to knowledge or understanding on Y, where Y is statement excerpted from one of these mission statements. And you're also asking tips on like length and depth on how to write a successful broader impact section. I think we have one or two example proposals on the website, which could be helpful for you to look at for suggestions there. And we give recommended word counts for each of the sections in the project description, and that can help give you a sense for kind of how long we expect that to be. Those word counts are just suggestions, but I think it's a good idea to try to stay in that neighborhood. And there's another question here. If I want to apply for funding for the sample preparation and analysis, they will want to know whether the collaboration with EMSL will work. EMSL, of course, wants to know if I get the samples done. Could you, Monica, elaborate on that question a little bit? I'm not sure I understand it.
Of course. So the thing is, it will of course help if I have a project there. So, and if the collaboration with EMSL makes sense, it might be a bigger project. And then if I apply for funding at, for example, our national organization, they will want to know, you know, will this collaboration work? Because otherwise the project is jeopardized. And of course, EMSL wants to know if I submit a project, will I have the resources to submit the samples? And I think this is a problem that other researchers have as well. And I was always asking myself how they deal with that, or is it usually important or necessary that the home institution funds this work? So what is your experience? How do people deal with that?
So is this a question of like, you know, you're applying to get some, say, like federal funding perhaps for the research, and then it's also dependent on an EMSL user project, and so kind of a chicken and egg problem, like until
Yes,
you,
exactly.
okay.
Or even an EU project where some of the equipment that EMSL has is perfect. So if the collaboration works, it's a really very nice addition. But there, yes, it's an hen and egg problem. Yeah.
I mean, we have, we can write letters of, it's basically a letter of support for a funding proposal, you know, a grant proposal where we say, you know, this researcher is describing this research and it sounds like that could be in alignment with what we do, and it, you know, basically give a tentative support that should you successfully get a EMSL user project, that your work could be done at EMSL. So it's people do request those at times, and we're happy to provide them if that's helpful. But yeah, I recognize that that is a challenge.
Okay, so it's just saying, okay, this is interesting, but we don't give a guarantee. But probably the chances are better if the background research is there.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
And there's another question here. Will EMSL help to develop the team before submitting the proposal? So when I was talking about the team in my portion, well, I think in this whole tutorial, when we talked about team, those are the users. So that would be you and your collaborators who are being funded to work on this project with you, either from your institution or maybe other institutions, your students or postdocs, for example. And so we wouldn't be helping to develop that team typically, unless you are on a grant with EMSL staff and they're getting funding elsewhere and they're actually considered a team member. I'm not sure if I'm addressing your question though, but please feel free to elaborate if you'd like to.
Yeah, I guess I'll just chime in and add, as far as on the EMSL staff side, the people who are assigned to help with your proposal are kind of decided on based on the instruments that you're planning to use, the research areas where your work falls. So some of that is not entirely clear up front because we need to see what it is that you're submitting in order to figure out which of our staff are most applicable to work with you and help you get your research done.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, if more questions come to your mind later, please feel free to reach out to me directly or to send a note to EMSL User Services at emsl@pnnl.gov. But otherwise, thanks. Thanks for coming to the tutorial, and I wish you luck as you prepare your EMSL proposals.